Greetings, greetings, greetings. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Melanin Report 360. I am back. Thank you so much for your patience and understanding. I had a busy week last week. It's going to be one again towards the end of this week. So I'm going to try my best to come on today through Thursday. And so I just wanted to make sure that you are liking that and enjoying that. And I want to give a shout out to my family, and I'm going to be traveling on Thursday to go a quick trip to see them and my Earth family, meaning not related by blood, but my Earth family nevertheless. And so, this is what we're doing. So it's been a week last week, and I wanted to check in, and I'm representing Brooklyn. That's where I come from. But yeah, it was a week, and I would be remiss if I didn't go into some of the details that came out of the week last week. So thank you again for tuning in. Let me read the fair use disclaimer. The copyright, I haven't read this in a while. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So, I just wanted to give a shout out because I am going to be traveling on Thursday. So I won't have a report on Thursday or Friday, perhaps Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday the following week. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so this has been an interesting period that we have experienced a lot of pain, hardship, reciprocity, I think is in order. And it just seems and feels like we are up against of so many things. We're resilient. The words really escape me because I know our resilience because we come under so much on a day to day, just being in these bodies, these melanated, beautiful bodies. And no one, it seems it's not like no one, I don't want to say that, so that would be I don't want to misspeak, but it just seems like we are, you know, in my world, we live as kings and queens, and that's in my mind. But, people don't always do that. If we can treat each other as if we were mothers and fathers of civilization, which we are, but it just seems like there is a disconnect of humanity, just 101 humanity. So I'm talking about the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin's case. So he was convicted. Everyone knows that by now. So I don't know what would have taken the judge to go to the maximum. So that could be a question for him and his staff. So again, what would be the tipping point of him giving 30 years? This man was killed in broad daylight, not nighttime, not back in the woods and whatever. Everyone would be able to see it. And everyone did see it. We saw it nationwide, worldwide. And it was a slap on the wrist of the time that he's received. For the heinous, if someone had said, man, let's get him in the car, if that was one officer, if somebody had just interceded and just said, you know, 3 minutes in, let's get him to, whatever, he would still be alive. That man suffered. That man suffered. Our brother suffered. And his mother's comment. I mean, I get it. She's his mother. She birthed him. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So we saw that because his remarks was crazy. And then her remarks, we connect the dots. We can connect the dots because he's maybe bordering on insanity. I don't know how you can kill a human being up close and personal. So my question again, what would it take to get it to a 30-year sentence? Now, we know this is the state level. So it's going to be federal too. So they can probably tack on, 10 years or whatever is going to make it, 28.5 years or whatever. Do the math. So that would be good. But the fact that the state didn't see that, this judge, I didn't even Google him. It was like when I saw that 22.5 years, that was just a slap in the face. That was a slap in the face. So his comments, he said something's gonna come out, and I mean, we saw the tape. What could come? I mean, this man is in a different reality. I'm like, okay, there's another tape because we saw it all. The world saw it. You know, I think he's going to be in solitary, perhaps, because when he goes in, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I don't, I don't preach violence. I don't preach anything other than love, peace, joy, whatever. But he will, if he's in general population, hey, hey, it can definitely go as it. I'm not gonna say as it should. Let me cancel that. So we saw that was Wednesday or Thursday. It's just a blur. And so this is going to be a sensitive issue for me to bring up. I don't know how to phrase it. Got to find some gentle words. So fast forward to Thursday, we saw the horrific. Um, it was probably a crime scene because with all I'm talking about Miami, with all of the things that on record of them saying, hey, this building is going to take $9 million for them to make it okay, make it sound. Some people may have to move out or whatever the case was, but it went on deaf ears. This is in 2000. Sorry about that glare. This is in 2000. Let me see if I can block it. This is in 2018. The reports of this area, this building, and it was horrific. And I mean, people they were seeing cracks. I remember my late cousin. She lived in the Bronx, and she was in Concourse Village. I think that's the name. I'm almost 90% sure that's the name. And those buildings, I think she was on the 17th floor. Yeah, I think, yeah. And she moved over there. I was small. I was like maybe 10 or something. She moved over. She was originally from North Carolina, and she went to school, Shaw University, I think, and then she went graduate school up in New York. But anyway, very, very accomplished, cousin, and we were very, very proud of her accomplishments. But with that said, she was on the 17th floor. And even in that time, it wasn't popular, but they made sure they didn't use any Chinese or, low end just to build. They didn't use anything like that. It probably wasn't around. I'm thinking she moved in there in the early 70s. In the early 70s. So they probably had above board stuff, you know, especially in New York. You don't usually hear things because they have skyscrapers everywhere, but we don't see anything like that, that level. So it's interesting that there is like 100 and some people, 130 or 40 people missing. That's sad. That's very sad because they were sleeping in their bed, probably, or getting busy or whatever, a little bit of both. And that happened. It didn't happen 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think there is a, let me be careful here. I'm trying to connect the incidences of Derek Chauvin, and this happened on Thursday. I think it may have been the following day. I may not be correct on that because I was a little out of tap with everything going on in my personal life and professional life. So I don't want to say the date exactly, but I'm just connecting the dots. I'm connecting the dots because we don't have to march in the street. We don't have to do anything. We have to keep our dignity. And the whole Floyd family they've definitely kept dignity throughout this whole process. I don't even know if I had to do it, I think it would be tough for me to get in front of the cameras and not cuss and carry on and blah blah blah. So, but they were so gracious, even with the 22 and a half years, which was a slap in the face at minimum. And so now we fast forward to this event on Thursday night. It's like 2 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning. No one saw it coming. People were in the bed. So it just seems like we don't wish anything catastrophic, none of that. But there is a yin for a yang, a balance of energy, and we know that our ancestors and Most High, they don't care about this situation. In let me back up. They need to recognize. See, when you live in a spiritual realm, a spiritual realm, and your energy reaches out 20, 30, 40 feet, and you see the full spectrum. You don't get as much caught up in. I'm not trying to say I wouldn't shed a tear. It's very tragic. No kidding. It was so tragic. No one saw it coming. I think there was a child, I think they pulled out of the rubble. So he's traumatized probably for 30 years, and he lived. So, and probably his family may not have. So we just don't know. When you do something, even if it's 1,500 miles away, the universe remembers. The universe remembers. It's continuous. It's a continuum because you say, well, this happened over here, and George Floyd's murder happened over there, 1,500, 2,000, whatever it is, down to Florida. But there's a memory that is unknown. There's an unknown memory. I'm getting chills right now. So there's an unknown memory. We don't even have any say in it. So that's why we need to do the right thing 99.9% of the time. 99.9% of the time. I'll say that again. 99.9% of the time. We have to live to our expectations, the ancestors' expectations. They lived, our ancestors, they worked and were killed and were raped, everything that happened in this country. They should want to give reparations. They should see the connection that we are, quote unquote, maybe the chosen people, perhaps. and you're spitting in my face. I'm getting chills on this conversation. Got chills down my body. But we have to connect the dots because we didn't do anything. That happened there, this happened in Florida. Big difference. But it's the same kind of deal. We are connecting the dots. We spiritually can connect the dots because we know, trust, and believe that nothing just comes into a vacuum and just goes away. But these ancestors, our ancestors, about getting teared up. But this country should want to level the playing field. They really have it in their best interest to make a wrong right. But they're not interested in that. They're not interested in that. And so the infrastructure, the this, the that, everything is falling apart at the seams. Case in point, Miami. Now, maybe they use substandard material. I'm sure that they did. If it's cracking within 2 to 5 years, I don't even think it's built that long, but maybe let's just say 5 years. So if you're showing signs of, unstable level of instability, blah, 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 you have to look at that. Evacuate everyone, have an analysis, a building analysis, and this could have been avoided. But the the dots are connected. I'm just going to say that without going into detail. But the dots are connected. Say that. Believe that. I'm getting chills up and down my body. So I am affirming this. This is being affirmed in my body. But our ancestors worked this country, were raped, were sodomized, were lynched. I mean, we had a lynching last year in May. George Floyd, that was another lynching. No question about it. By the neck. By the neck. So his organs shut down within those 9 minutes. This country should want to give us reparations because we're not doing anything. We didn't cause the horrific scene in Miami still being sifted through. We didn't cause that, but we know cause and effect. We know cause and effect. Because you want to be miserly. I'm a descendant, and some of you are. We are direct descendants of enslaved and our ancestors were enslaved. My DNA goes back to Nigeria. Come into 1700 or whatever, they were picking cotton. They were out of North Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina. They were picking cotton. I'm a direct descendant of enslaved ancestors. And you are spitting in the face and not even say, oh, we'll talk about it. We'll have a commission. They didn't even get to that. They didn't even get to the George Floyd Policing Act. It's stuck in the Senate. So I'm like, who does this? And we are still here. They didn't kill us off as they thought. They thought they knew what they did. They know now what they did. Their ancestors know. And the conversation came on down the line. So we can know clearly what is being done. We, 2 million a piece. That's what I was saying, 2 million. Whatever that money is, it would be well spent. Because our ancestors are still on this planet, circulating in this energy. We're still here. Our ancestors are still here. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Our ancestors are still here at some level, my father's spirit. We're all, I mean, today I was in this area roughly and ran to post office and this and that and the bank and blah blah. I saw his birthday on the cars in front of me 3 times in like a hour and a half span. So I know I saw the 717. That was his birthday. I see it all the time. I am connecting the dots. It's not like arbitrary. I'm like, okay, hi, dad. I will say that. A candle is lit on his altar every day. The candle is always a candle lit on his altar, my ancestral altar. But I'm saying I keep that energy present around me because I was very close to my father, very close. And so I say all that to say there's nothing gone, is not, nothing is going unchecked. Hear me. Nothing, I'm sorry for that glare. I think, okay, that might be a little bit better. Nothing is going unchecked because we live on one planet and our ancestors are right in the mix of this. Please hear me. So I'm saying, even though it happened see, a short-sighted person would say, oh, it happened right after the charge, or, was 22 and a half years. The which card came back, the judge came back 22. What would it take to get to his 30-year? What would he have had to have done? I'm just saying. It wasn't a mass murder. He didn't kill more than one people, but the heinous. And when his mother spoke, I saw where that energy came from. Because if you remember with I just try to keep his name off my tongue. The Chauvin case, when he was in the courtroom, he was writing the entire time. I don't know if anyone else caught that. He was writing the entire time. That's how disconnected he was. That was an insult. He wouldn't even hear. He's like writing a manuscript. And that judge, I mean, that attorney should have said, "You don't need to do that. You just don't need to do that." I saw him every time they showed a clip or whatever. He was writing as he was on trial. And when the judge came back with the 22 and a half years, he seemed like perplexed, like, don't you see I'm a white man? What, I mean, do I mean, I look like you, so what, he thought he was being punked. But we have to connect the dots, because I'm not trying to say what happened is, I have a certain feeling, but I just know how the universe, the ancestors work. Ashe. I know how the ancestors work. I know my ancestors are protecting me. My father, definitely. I have his DNA in my body. My father is definitely going to connect with his daughter. And because I look and I see like 3 times today. I was out maybe 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. And I saw his birthday at some level, 717, times. But I recognize that. I recognize that. And I connect to his spirit. So we connecting to our ancestors? We are. And we need to be. We definitely need to be. Now, Miami is tragic. No questions. Those people didn't see it coming because they were sleeping, probably. And that building just crushed. Just when has that ever happened? I don't know, but Now, fast forward, we are now sending bombs and stuff to Iraq and Syria. See, this is how we're so out of balance. This country is so out of balance. We're gonna put armor, we're gonna arm people and have people blow up another region halfway across the world, the planet. And we can't even take care of each other and love one another and not giving any type of reparations, not even a study. How dare you? This is an insult to injury. And given 22 and a half years, he's probably can get out in 15. And he's what, in his 40s? His mother may live to see that. She looked to be maybe in her 60s or maybe early 7, I don't know. But how many times our people have been wrongfully murdered, no type of weapon. Sometimes it used to be, oh, I thought he had a weapon. They don't even have to do that now. I saw something in his hand and I just shot 20 times. These people, I'm going to say it again. I will say it again. I will say it again. We need to have not only police reform, we need to have psychological analysis because we need to find out, are these people mentally equipped to be on the force? I mean, if you can do the physical, okay, that's one level. But are they emotionally, mentally? And that's where nobody wants police reform. Really? But black and brown bodies are in the streets, from Mike Brown to Tamir Rice and everyone, Sandra Bland and I mean, in the last 5 years, it's been so many. So we need to connect the dots. And my goodness, I'm not suggesting anything, but I know how the universe works. I know how the ancestors work. We lost a brother, probably was what he has like 4 or 5 children, talking about George Floyd, the late George Floyd. He did not have a chance. And I hope the entire team of assassins, they get 20 years or more because they stood by watching. And the Asian guy was like standing guard because I don't even know why it didn't come out, but they knew each other, George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, because I think Chauvin was at a nightclub or whatever, and he was security or whatever. I don't know all the missing links, but it wasn't like their first encounter, is what I'm saying. I don't know if that came out in trial. I wasn't glued to the trial, I just don't. But it's curious to me that they knew one another. And that's even more egregious. It's just like, how do you kill an acquaintance? So you have to have an emotional evaluation of these police officers. Yes, they can climb the pole and do all that and put out fires and I'm not trying to do. I know that they're not firemen, but they can do acrobats of stuff. But what is the emotional? What is the spiritual? What's the physical? And we don't even require that. Psychological evaluations. It's just ridiculous. Now you have a chance. You have Kamala Harris. Now you have Joe Biden. Democrats, right? So we can't even get a crime bill passed. I'm like, because it spits on the whole deal. And now a 22-year sentence. See, the ancestors are like, they showing out once again. They're not learning their lesson. We want to keep them We want to stay sane and whole and complete and loving and kind. But these are aggressive people because they know their numbers are coming down. They have more commercials with interracial. Joseph Biden recognized that. That's intentional. You don't see the black woman unless she's with a white man. You don't see a black man unless he's with a white woman. This is the whole thing. Remember when what was the commercial? This was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and there was a brother, and I think it was a honey oat commercial. I don't remember, but and it was like one of the first rollout of interracial. And he was in the other room, if I remember correctly. He was in the other room, and the wife and it looked like a biracial child and da da da. But there was so much outcry. Ah, you know. I'm just saying. So now you fast forward. You fast forward. This country, our ancestors paid dearly, blood, sweat, and tears. Blood, sweat, and tears. Blood, sweat, and tears. And for that, this is now hundreds of years later. We can't get a crime bill passed. We can't get reparations. Who does this? We're still paying. I read over the list that we're still giving other countries money from the wrongs and of our actions. We are still doing this. I'm like, huh? We're still doing this? So I hope people can get it, connect the dots. I'm connecting the dots because they lost over 100 people in that rubble. Maybe I haven't turned it on the news today, but some may have been found. I don't know. There was a young man, seemed to be 10, 8 or 10, and he was pulled out of the rubble. Yeah. He's traumatized for half of the rest of his life. Who knows? But we need to connect the dots. We need to say nothing happens in a vacuum. We don't say, "Oh, it happened over here, it happened over there." Because we're spiritual people, because we can connect. The connectedness is important. And so we have to rethink this. This country, you know, I'm just saying this is like at the beginning of, you know, it seems like they're going down with a fight. I don't understand why we cannot get reparations. We send reparations other places all day, all night. We're still giving money to World War II victims or whatever. We're still giving money to the descendants of other regions and not us. I think if they do that, the pressure cooker, it would be released. Like, okay, we can, okay. But they're not going to do that. And that's bad for this country. I just do believe that. At a spiritual level, I don't think anything's going to let up because they're just showing they're digging their heels in and, being, and they're not even connecting the dots. They should have a team of folks like maybe clairvoyants or spiritual people, a team, and say we need to do something in this country to ease the imbalance, because right now we're in the imbalance part. This is where we are. But to ease the pain and trauma. and this kind of stuff happening because it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It People have come out of other countries for aid, help us out, help this country out. Appreciate that, but this was a horrific incident that happened right around the same time of the judge giving down the sentence. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So once we can connect these dots in closing, we need to connect the dots. We need to lift up our ancestors. If you don't have an ancestral altar, please put one, together. If you contact me, I will walk you through it. But we know our ancestors are right around the corner in spirit. They're right around the corner. And so that is something we can do. We can do that. So thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's been a while. I'll be back tomorrow, same time. Now, Thursday, I am traveling, and I will be back soon. And I will perhaps film in the area I'm going to, but to be announced. Okay. So I'll see you tomorrow, 2:30 Mountain Standard Time, East Coast, 5:30. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share, like, subscribe to my channel. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Stay safe and be well. Peace.